Hello, I'm Liza Holland of the Nonpartisan League of Women Voters of Lexington, and I will be your moderator for this forum for the LFUCG City Council District 9. The League of Women Voters is a sponsor for the event today, and the forum will be available on our YouTube channel and also on our league website, which is LWVLexington.com. We have two candidates for this election, Ms. Whitney Elliott Baxter and Mr. James Lombardi. Thank you both for being here. We are going to follow the League of Women Voters policies and procedures for this forum. In order to give the candidates a fair chance to be heard, we have randomly drawn via random.org for the order of opening remarks and questions, and again for closing remarks. Each candidate will have 60 seconds to introduce themselves, 60 seconds to respond to questions, and 60 seconds for closing remarks. Our questions have been created by the sponsors and have also been solicited online from the public. At this point, we'll begin with opening remarks, and Ms. Baxter, you have 60 seconds for opening remarks.
All right. Well, thank you so much and good afternoon. Thanks to the League of Women Voters for the opportunity to talk about important issues facing our community. My name is Whitney Elliott Baxter, and I am the current 9th District Council member seeking re-election for a second term. I'm a lifelong resident of the 9th District, a devoted wife and mom of 2, and a proud public servant. Serving our community for the past 2 years has been an absolute honor, and I'm seeking re-election because there's still a lot of work to do. Being a council member isn't an easy job. It requires time, dedication, sacrifice, and collaboration between the community and my colleagues. I feel that my experience will allow me to seamlessly continue my work. Currently, I'm working on public safety initiatives, city park improvements, trail connections, and zoning regulations, just to name a few. I love this work and I'm passionate about our community, and I look forward to the opportunity to continue serving. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Lombardi.
Yes, I'd like to also thank you for the opportunity to address the League of Women Voters and the folks in Fayette County. My name is James J. Lombardi. I too am a lifelong resident of Fayette County. I bring to the table over 35 years of government experience, both at the local level, the state, and I've ever worked for the Fayette County for the federal government. I'm a career public servant also. What I bring to the table that differs from my opponent is 28 years of government service for the Lexington Fayette Urban County Division of Police as a police officer. And I understand the number one issue in Fayette County is now crime. I've seen it from both sides of the badge now. With my life experiences and my government experiences, I would like the opportunity to address the number one issue in Fayette County.
Well, thank you very much. And you'll take this first question first, which is a great segue from your opening. And tell us about what you feel is the number one issue facing Lexington today, and what do you plan to do about it should you be elected?
Currently, the number one issue facing Fayette County is our crime rate. And I see that the solution to this is twofold. The attrition rate for the public safety sectors is just unattainable. It needs to be abated. The Division of Police, the 911 Center, and the Division of Community Corrections are all working at 4/5 capacity or less, yet the call rate and the service rate has not diminished. And that's one of the things that we need to address in order to abate the crime problem. But this is a multifaceted problem. It's a complex issue. I see the second part of that, community services, outside services from the urban county government, ancillary services to address some of the root causes of what's generating our crime issue here in Fayette County. For example, programs for at-risk youth.
Thank you so much. Ms. Baxter.
Well, thank you for this question. And I agree with my opponent that crime is the number one priority and concern of our community. I am well aware of our deficits in public safety employees, and I'm working hard every day to continue to address pay and benefits to those employees and officers. And I also think that developing a more community-minded community is important. I think that it's not just one entity's responsibility to help solve crime. I think it involves neighbors watching out for one another. I think it involves nonprofit organizations, and I think it involves our faith-based community all coming together to address root causes and really pay attention to our youth and the future generations of Lexington. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And you'll take this question first.
Right.
We have some overarching problems here in Lexington, but you are running for the 9th district. Mm-hmm. What are some unique issues to the 9th district that you would like to address should you be elected?
Well, I think we all can agree that our crime rate doesn't just involve the whole city, it involves the 9th district as well. We've seen increased crime. So one of the things that I've been working on is the increase of the number of flock cameras that we have in the community, and making sure that those are placed equitably throughout the community. Other issues related to the 9th are increased growth with infill development and traffic concerns because of the increased growth. So one of the things that I mentioned in my opening is that I'm working on planning and zoning regulations. And I think it's very important that we look to those items on how we grow to abate any issues that we have in regards to traffic and growth. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lombardi.
I would agree. Housing, traffic, and development are probably 2 or 3 of the biggest problems that the 9th district faces right now. Infill development. This is primarily a residential district. We have no heavy industry, small businesses. And I see addressing the housing issue through a sensible, well-planned and well-developed moving forward. In terms of the traffic issue, if you look at Lexington's expansion over the years with our neighborhoods, looking at infrastructure, we'll move on.
Thank you so much. Mr. Lombardi, you'll go ahead and take this next question first.
Yes, ma'am.
One of the things that we hear in the news so much and have seen, unfortunately, here in Kentucky with weather issues is our impact on climate change. What, in your opinion, does the City Council need to do to do their part to address climate change?
Well, from a government perspective, I think we can do our part by utilizing green vehicles for ancillary government services. We can do our part by putting green technology to work at government facilities, alternate sources of power, such as solar power on government facilities. That's about the extent of it from a government perspective.
Thank you so much. Ms. Baxter. Well, thank you. And this is a very important topic, I think, as we look forward to our future, and protecting our climate and our environment is very important. So increasing the number of solar panels that we have on government buildings is something that's very important. And we've made a commitment to do that with new fire departments or fire stations that come online. So that's very important. The opening of our newly renovated recycling center is amazing. If you haven't been out there to take a tour, I highly encourage it. It's really cool. And then we're also working on a feasibility study right now to see if we could use a biodigester for our trash. It's a very, very interesting concept and something that I'm really excited about for the future of our waste management system. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And you'll take this next question first. We've actually had a wide variety of questions regarding affordable housing submitted this year. And so, what do you feel is the government's role in helping to support affordable housing? And what would you like to see happen should you be reelected?
Yeah, so as a realtor, I am well aware of our housing affordability, the lack of affordable housing, the lack of housing stock in general. So I think it's really important for us as the government to continue funding our Affordable Housing Trust Fund, which we have done in record numbers actually in the past 2 years. And then also, I think it's really important for us to look at the urban services boundary and how we grow. We've essentially put a belt around the city and we are squeezing ourselves out. So instead of building a wall around our city and pushing people out to surrounding communities, I think it's really important that we grow very smart and really have a plan for the future as far as not just housing stock in general, but making sure that we are addressing affordable housing as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lombardi.
I would agree also. And my perspective is in two parts. Lexington needs more housing, needs more types of housing, and the urban county government needs to do its part. I've spoken with real estate professionals and I've solicited opinions, and it's gone both ways. There are pros and cons to expanding the urban county service boundary. If we do so, there's a cost attached to that. So I think the first thing we should look at is better using our infill for redevelopment, development, and examining the acreage we have within our boundary to use it more prudently. However, let's be realistic. Lexington is going to grow, and at some point, we are going to have to expand outside the urban county service boundary. I think we should look at areas in which we can do so and minimize the intrusiveness into our farmland. In other words, I advocate growth, but smart and well-planned growth.
Thank you so much. You'll take this question first. Over half of the city's budget general fund is allocated to public safety, yet those needs are different in each district. How would you address the specific public safety needs in your district while ensuring that those services are responsive to and effective for the community as a whole?
Well, we need to fund public safety effectively. And right now we have a shortage of personnel across all 3 of the 4 public safety sectors, being the Division of Police, Community Corrections, and E911. In order to serve the community effectively, these divisions need to be staffed appropriately, and they are not. Now, in my overall strategy, I understand that is only one component of several in abating the crime problem. But I think the number one problem right now that we need to abate is the recruitment and retention situation that we are facing in all 3 of our public safety divisions that are facing personnel crisis. That is, we need more cops, we need more folks at the E911 center, and we need to staff our community corrections center.
Thank you so much, Ms. Baxter.
Well, thank you. And I agree with Mr. Lombardi. I know that that making sure we are competitively paying our public safety officers is very important. We have given bonuses in the past 2 years, and we are currently working on some memorandums of understanding regarding base pay with our public safety. So yes, I agree that we do need to increase our numbers. However, I think the perception of policing has changed over the past several years. And we have to think creatively about how we're recruiting officers into specifically our police force. the same tactics that we've always used aren't necessarily the best way. And we have to figure out how to attract different types of individuals looking to get involved in community service.
Thank you so much. You'll take this next question first. Effective transportation infrastructure for all modes of travel can go a long way towards both increasing the employability and offsetting the housing expense of Lexington families who cannot afford to keep the average household's 1.74 cars. Lexington Transportation Policy Committee decides on some $70 million in federal, state, local transportation spending annually, and half the committee are council members. What are your design and funding priorities for public infrastructure to improve our transportation system?
Well, as one of the council members that sits on the Lexington Area Metropolitan Planning Organization and the Transportation Policy Committee, I know about all of this all too well. We are currently funding some traffic studies, especially with like Nicholasville Road and things like that. We have looked at increased options for our LexTrans services and whether or not something called a bus rapid transit line would be appropriate for Lexington that would bring individuals from the Jessamine County line into downtown. We have to do a little bit of reconfiguring and get some community buy-in before an investment like that is important. But I think planning regionally to address any infrastructure needs. There's been communication about even some light rail options, but we have options, but we really just have to take the time to flesh them out. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Lombardi.
Yes, ma'am. I would agree. And I think one of the key factors here is planning. One of the problems that has plagued Lexington and Fayette County in the past is lack of planning in terms of our growth, sprawl. Planning our routes, looking at traffic patterns, and looking at the future as our neighborhoods grow is going to be critical. LexTran has done a good job, fantastic job over the last 20 years with their growth, with their service to the community. They serve the university area very well. I think we are a standout in terms of public transportation as compared to other communities our size in what LexTran provides. I think there's a two-part problem here. We need to maintain our public transportation system and upgrade it as necessary, and we need better planning for our roads and our traffic problems.
Thank you so much. And you'll take this next question first.
Okay.
The pandemic has sorely affected all of the citizens of Lexington, and particularly we're seeing more issues as far as mental health problems. What do you think is the city's role in supporting mental health and bringing the community kind of back to even?
Looking at it from a government's perspective, we need to get back to normal as soon as possible. You know, I have a family member that runs a small business here in Lexington. So I understand the plight that small business owners have undergone over the last 2 years or so because of this pandemic. Normalcy is going to be the answer. We need to get back on track. We need to get back to spawning commerce, normal lifestyle. Now, in terms of government's role, we need to be supporting our small businesses. Economic prosperity is the heart, and it's what makes Lexington and Fayette County a cut above our surrounding communities.
Okay, thank you so much. Ms. Baxter.
Well, thank you for this question. I think the most important thing in dealing with mental health is awareness and not being scared to talk about it. So this is a very important question. I think the city's role in the mental health crisis that we're facing post-pandemic can be addressed by continuing to fund our ESR grants and investing in those nonprofit organizations who deal with mental health programs. I think we need to continue funding our summer youth job program to and continue working with youth mentoring programs because a lot of people we don't know how to act anymore. You know, we don't know how to interact with our community anymore. We were shut out for 2 whole years. And so just making sure that everybody has the opportunity to be heard is very important. Thank you.
Thank you. And you'll take this next question first. Meaningful public participation is vital to a responsive local government. What are some innovative approaches that you would advocate for to make government processes more accessible, equitable, and transparent?
Well, thank you for this question. I feel like my office does a very good job of staying in contact with the district and the community as a whole. We have a weekly newsletter where we put all the information about meetings that are coming up and what we've discussed, things like that. Transparency and education was something very important to me in my initial run for office, and it still is today. I think that the work that LWVLEX is doing with the city right now on public engagement is very important as well. And I look forward to implementing some of their recommendations, like virtual public comment and allowing for community involvement outside of our typical meeting schedule. Not everybody is available at 1 o'clock in the afternoon to come and listen to a committee presentation. So I think continuing to work with the community to hear how they are best communicated with is very important.
Thank you so much. Mr. Lombardi.
Yes, thank you. I would agree. Community engagement is critical. If there's anything the government can do to be more transparent with constituents, I'm in favor of it. Whether it's technological advancements, using social media, using commercial media, allowing more access to meetings. I would agree. It's not exactly convenient for constituents to come down to the government center, particularly during the afternoon. But if there are better ways that we can get our message out to what the government is doing for the people, I support that. The more community involvement that we have, the more effective government will work.
Thank you so much. And you'll take this question first, and this will be the last questions before we turn to closing remarks. Poverty is one of the biggest issues that affect poor families, education, and employment opportunities. What plans and steps do you see as very important to implementation and promotion of effective poverty elimination programs? And what are you willing to do to ensure that the implementation is a priority?
I would agree, and it's something that this city has struggled with for years. And I think one of the best ways to abate poverty is economic prosperity and opportunity. Providing opportunity is the best way we can help people with a helping hand get back on their feet, and we can lessen government assistance. Pride and work and opportunity work hand in hand. Here in Fayette County, particularly in our urban core, I've seen it up close and personally. In terms of government experience, if we have to look at a grade over the course of the last 20, 30 years, Lexington is getting about a C- in addressing this, and we need to do better.
Thank you so much. Ms. Baxter.
Liza, could you repeat the question for me, please?
Oops, sure. Some of these get to be a little bit
It's a little long, yeah.
Yes. So poverty is one of the biggest issues that affects poor families, education, and employment opportunities. What plans and steps do you see as very important to implement and promote effective poverty elimination programs? And what are you willing to do to ensure that implementation is a priority?
Well, thank you. Post-pandemic, we're seeing an increase in poverty. And that's really unfortunate because I feel like we were making some strides in the community and now we've kind of backpedaled. So I think making sure that, like I said before, we have a community mindset where we're all looking out for one another and lifting each other up is very important. I think that partnering with our public school system is very important to provide those wraparound services, not only within school, but when school gets out. I've reached out and we will be partnering with the school board in the years to come, which is very important as well. I think programs like One Lexington will help address some of our youth violence issues. And I think once we wrap our arms around the entire community, we will do nothing but lift one another up. And I think that's very important.
Well, thank you very much. And thank you to both of you for such thoughtful and informed responses to these questions today. We now turn to closing remarks. And Ms. Baxter, you're up first.
All right, well, thanks again to the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum and for your work advocating for informed voting. I'd also like to thank JJ for his service to our community as a police officer for several years. And as I said earlier, I'm seeking re-election because my work's not done. Experience is invaluable when serving families and neighborhoods in the 9th District and the city as a whole. City Hall can be complex and even confusing sometimes, and I have the experience to hit the ground running for a second term and continue working on initiatives in the pipeline. I'm proud of my efforts to communicate with my constituents, and I'll continue to work hard every day to retain the trust of the voters who choose me to represent them as a voice in City Hall. I serve to try to make a positive influence in our district and make Lexington the best it can be now and for future generations. To find out more about me, visit whitneyforcouncil.com, and I humbly ask for your vote on November the 8th. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Lombardi.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. One of the primary reasons I'm running for Urban County Council is to preserve the quality of life that we have in Lexington and Fayette County. I dedicate over 30 years of my life to public service and law enforcement. The current situation in Lexington is simply unattainable. Violent crimes are growing. We're at record levels this year. The attrition rate in the public safety sectors is growing. And with these factors in mind, I feel I have the background and experience needed to address them more thoroughly. And furthermore, I believe in the common sense, responsible fiscal spending. I also believe in sensible and well-planned development, economic development throughout Fayette County. Currently, the most important issue in Fayette County is public safety. I wholeheartedly feel that without a safe community, nothing good happens. There are other issues of importance facing Fayette County.
Those 60 seconds go quickly. Thank you so very much, Mr. Lombardi. And thank
Yes,
you
ma'am.
to both candidates for participating today. If you're interested in seeing this and more forums, please do visit our website at LWVLexington.com. They're also available on our YouTube channel. You can also check out League membership while you're there. And I just really encourage anyone watching to make a plan to vote. Make sure it actually happens. We're lucky we can do early voting at the Lexington Senior Center this fall. It's at 195 Life Way on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday from 8:30 to 4:30 prior to Election Day. And then, of course, you can always vote on Election Day itself, November the 8th, at your regular polling place. If you need additional information on the candidates, we have a great resource for you at 411.org. And thank you so much for joining us today.